And then as you move, the fluid shifts. And therefore, it would either it would shift to press on that membrane that has all of those like otoliths, or push over that little cup, because they call it if you look at the Crista ampullaris, the cupula, the cup that's covering it, it would press against that cup.
So, this picture and the picture before with the otoliths, are those in the same, is that in the same membrane, or are those in two separate parts of the?
We're still located within our chambers for the otoliths. If you look at this little area that looks like a little bump at each one of the semicircs, that's where the little cupula is. But fluid goes through all of them.
Okay.
In other words, like Brian, it's a closed system, but it travels through it all. So whether this one gets pushed over, that would only happen if you're like twirling or flipping, all right? If you are simply moving up, down, side to side, front, back, that sort of thing, that's where these two are going to be affected. Okay, so you've got like 1, 2 chambers, and then 1, 2, 3, looks like bumps, that's the best term I can come up with, on each of the semicircs that has the crista. Does that help? Anthony?
So, I mean, I don't know if this is big, but what happens if you have an ear infection?
Most of the time, well, when we think of an ear infection, we have to remember that we've got the outer ear, the middle ear, the inner ear, all right? Outer ear infection could just be the ear needs to be cleaned out good, have some little drops put in. If we move into the middle ear, with that infection, it could be there's a little bit of pressure on the eardrum. For children, that's where it's a lot of pressure within those eustachian tubes, okay? Could build up maybe some bacteria in there, that sort of thing. Hopefully antibiotics will take care of it. When there is an inner ear infection, the one that's going to be located near the cochlea, all right, chances are the person could be, they could be dizzy, they could have pain within their head that feels like they can't get any relief from, usually caused by a bacteria. They'll put you on the antibiotics and so forth. It really depends upon what part of the ear is actually infected. Is it the outer, middle, or inner? Because each one will be a little bit different. The last sensation we're going to talk about, vision. With vision, of all the senses that we have, I would think this one would be probably the most difficult to lose. I can't imagine never being able to see sunlight or anything else again. Your textbook is going to get into a lot of great detail about vision.
So just like I worked as an ophthalmology technician in the Navy for a little while, so I had some experience with eyes, and I think a lot of times people don't start actually paying attention to certain diseases like diabetes and high blood pressure until it starts affecting their vision. So because it is so important to people, they'll pay attention to it, but then they don't really take it seriously, and then when it really starts affecting their vision, is when they really kind of that's just to your point that there's like
Yeah, and if they don't pay attention to it until then,
And that's what it's gotten pretty bad. I mean,
that's definitely
yeah,
progressive.
especially like diabetes and you know, you're starting to get some bleeding. And,
Yeah, you know, diabetes is one that's going to severely affect vision. Okay, that's at a point though that it's really progressive in the person. If you even have diabetes in the background of your family, the time to be paying attention is now, because you know, eating the right diet, that sort of thing, you will be glad you did that, because the older you get, because see, here's the thing about diabetes. Diabetes being a disorder, a disease that affects the pancreas, it doesn't really get identified until the pancreatic cells that are going to be responsible are almost 90% destroyed. So if you go ahead now and know that stuff like that runs in your family and begin to affect the, like, having the healthier eating, exercising, that sort of thing, your chances decrease greatly. So I know, like for me, I know it runs in my family, all right? And I don't exercise like I should, but I do try to eat a little healthier than, you know, like my mom. Oh man, that's a battle, most definitely. So, vision, now, speaking of that, she's now legally blind. Yeah. So I cannot even imagine being, you know, losing this particular special sense. Vision, we know as sight. This is our perception of objects based upon the light they emit. For the things that we see, all right, we do this. Chemistry is really behind it all. It's really cool. But it's because they emit some type of light from our good old visible portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Is everybody familiar with that? Okay. Once again, your textbook is going to get into very great detail. It's going to talk about the emmetropia and all this. I'm not asking you to know that. You were going into vision as your choice. You would definitely be getting into that. So I have tried to narrow down what information, because the book's like this on it, I've tried to bring it down to what you really need to know to go forward, okay? Read the rest of it for background, but for my purposes, what we're going to see here and what you see on your study guide, that's what I want you to know. I'm not asking you to do any of the math associated with it or anything, okay? That electromagnetic spectrum, if you remember, the electromagnetic spectrum it's based upon the waves that we receive from the sun. We have stuff on there like UV rays, X-rays, gamma rays, microwaves, radio waves, TV waves. That's the stuff we don't see, okay? We definitely use them, but we don't see them. The portion of that huge electromagnetic spectrum, there's only a very small portion we actually see. It's from roughly 400 to 700 nanometers on that spectrum. We refer to it as Roy G. Biv. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. That's the portion that gives us the stuff that we see. In your textbook, beginning on page 603. It's going to go through all of the accessory structures of the eye. Eyelashes, eyebrows. I'm not going over that, okay? Look over that, be familiar with it. For the sensation, for the sense of sight, that's the part I want us to be familiar with, okay? Because how we see is really based upon these portions of the eye, all right? I'm not worried about the little eyelashes coming off of the eyelids, or my little caruncle, and all this other stuff. Look at it. Be familiar. Me? Wasting my time. So, our parts that I want us to understand is, first of all, we've got to understand that we see because we've got this photon coming, we got this part, the electromagnetic spectrum, that we get to pick up. I can't see a radio wave, I can't see a microwave. I know they exist because I listen to my radio and I use my microwave. Watch the TV. I can go get x-rays done. Okay? I know all of that exists. It's this anatomy that's going to be important and helping us form that image. For example, can I borrow this? What color?
Pink.
Hot pink, pink. Anybody see any purple in there? Like magenta? Huh? Do what, Marlisha?
I was saying if you when it was like slightly, I guess like the little shadow part looked a little purple like.
Yeah. I got light that I'm using on this. What I see versus what you see versus what y'all see, it can all have a little bit of a difference to it. Okay? We don't all see the visible portion the same. It's the reason I may look at an article of clothing and say, ooh, I don't like that color. And the other person looks at it and like, well, I love this shade. Okay? We don't all see it the same. The light that's coming at us, that light has to enter, and we have to take that energy and it has to be converted to something chemical that the nerve fibers can pick up and pass as that action potential down the optic nerve to the area of the brain for it to interpret that stimulus. So the structures of the eye that are going to be important, got the cornea, we've got the pupil, we've got the lens. We're going to be needing or dealing with this fluid on the anterior chamber. We're going to find that we've got all of these little ligaments attached to our lens. We've got the little ciliary body that's going to have those ligaments attached. We're going to end up with our posterior chamber. We're going to end up with a chamber behind the lens. And this is going to be my posterior chamber that's going to have my vitreous humor. Aqueous is in the front. In the back here, we're going to have these wrappings, these connective tissue wrappings that are present. And we're going to, these are going to be tunics. We've got to look at those, okay? We're going to have the tunics. Got a huge optic nerve that exits out of the back of the eye. When I say huge, it is huge. That eyeball, if you could pluck it out and look at it, I bet it would be, for humans, I bet it would be that thick, that big a range.